Want to know a super fast, super easy way of finding out if you have paper cuts in your hands? I had a lot of fun doing this recipe. Hi everyone and welcome to another recipe video. And this week we are making lemon crinkle cookies, specifically brown butter cream cheese lemon crinkle cookies. Try saying that really fast again and again. And I have made so many lemon crinkle cookies over the last few weeks trying to get the recipe just as I like it. And in the end, the combination of brown butter, cream cheese and extra lemon turned out to be it. I was super stubborn because I wanted to make this recipe from scratch. A lot of crinkle cookie recipes use box cake mix, which is great, that's absolutely fine, but I wanted to see if I could make it from scratch, so it took me a little while to get the consistency just right. So you get the crinkles, you get the dense cakey texture without being too fluffy or too dry. You need to have just the right amount of lemon in there, and it needs to be super rich as well. After countless amount of lemons that I've gone through, and a lot of owies on the hands, because yes, lemon juice will make you find out very quickly and painfully that you have small cuts on your hands. I finally cracked it. I think so anyway. So after batch, I don't know, here is my recipe for brown butter cream cheese lemon crinkle cookies. Maybe I should try shortening that name, but it is what it is. I make my own candied lemon peel for this recipe. Homemade is always best when it comes to candied lemon peel because the shop bought ones can be a little bit on the bitter side, a bit funky tasting. But if you have a life, unlike myself, and you don't have countless of hours to spend on making your own candied lemon peel, please do use shop bought. It's absolutely fine. You probably won't even be able to taste the difference, to be honest, once it's mixed in with everything. I just like to be extra, and I have no life. So although I do show you how to make it from scratch, I will also give you the measurements for how much you need in the actual recipe, so you can just do it the easy, probably more sensible way and use shop bought too. So to make the candied lemon peel, we're going to have to do this the night before, so let's go back in time and see how it's done. Right, let's make some candied lemon peel, and we're doing this the day before we actually want to bake the cookies because this will take a little while to dry once we've boiled them. So to make candied lemon peel, we need lemon peel, obviously. So I'm going to start by slicing the ends off of these lemons. Get rid of these. And we just want the peel. So we need to separate the peel from the flesh. Some people just peel the skin away. I am not so good at doing that, so I cut it away. Smaller knife. And don't throw these bits away because we're actually going to use the juice later when we make the icing. So I don't have a juicer or anything, I'm just going to squeeze this juice straight out into a bowl. There you go. I'm just going to pop this in the fridge now and we'll use it tomorrow for the icing. We probably won't use the whole thing, but it's more than enough. So let's carry on with our peels. Now, because of the outside of the rind, the zest is so fragrant, this is what's going to make these peels super delicious, but because we also have the pith, at the moment it's going to be super bitter. So what we're going to do is we're going to boil it in water twice, 2 fresh rounds of water, and that will get rid of some of the bitterness. You could also remove more of the pith, but then without the pith it won't be as juicy, it'll be a bit leathery, so that is why we need the pith. So let me go grab some water. So we've got plenty of water in here. Now we're going to bring this to a boil and wait for 15 minutes. And then we're going to drain it and then boil it for another 15 minutes with some fresh water. It's been 15 minutes, so let's swap out the water. Let's just chuck it in there. We're getting rid of all that bitter water. Give the pan a rinse. Also give the peels a bit of a rinse. And then we're going to do it all over again. So I'm just filling up this pan with more water, and then we're going to boil it for another 15 minutes. See you in 15 minutes. It's been another 15 minutes. Now we're going to drain these again, and we're going to make the syrup. Right, we have our clean pan, but we're going to add 150 millilitres of water and 100 grams of caster sugar. And we're going to dissolve this together and bring it to a boil. Now that it's boiling, we're going to reduce it down to a simmer and add our lemon peels, which we've just drained. Make sure they're evenly coated. And I'm going to let this gently simmer for about half an hour. It's been 30 minutes and these peels are nice and translucent and jewel-like. So now I'm going to take this off the heat and just let them cool in the syrup. Now that these little morsels are cool, I am going to fish them from the syrup and let them air dry on a rack overnight. And you can actually put these on a baking tray on some non-stick baking paper and shove them in the oven on the lowest temperature for about an hour to dry. That will make things a bit quicker, but it's a bit warm out at the moment and I don't feel like switching the oven on, until I have to bake the cookies of course. So I'll do it the slow way. You can throw this syrup away now, but I'm actually going to keep it aside and make lemonade out of it. Just add a bit of fizzy water to it. Delicious. And now I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to let these things dry out overnight. So nighty night, see you tomorrow to make the cookies. And here we are the next day, and yes, I did lose a nail. I use a peel off base coat on my nails, which usually lasts for about 5 days, and I managed to knock it against something last night. So a bit sad about that, never mind, the rest are looking sharp. But back to the main event. As you can see, these have dried so that they're a bit sticky and malleable, but they're not soaking wet anymore, and this is perfect. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to chop this up, and then I'm going to continue with the rest of the cookie. Got these on the chopping board, and I'm just going to chop them up into little chunks. Kind of like you'd find if you were buying a box of mixed peel, although this isn't mixed, this is just lemon. And I am going to weigh this at the end, so if you can't be bothered to make lemon peel, because you have better things to do in life than me, which I'm sure you do, and this takes a long time, then you know how much to use. Oh no! I lost another nail. Well, I'm not going to add this to the ingredients obviously, so let me just get rid of that. That's just tragic. Before I weigh this, I'm going to have a little cheeky taste. That's so good, just like candy. You can leave them uncut and give them as gifts, as little strips of peel, but in this case we'll chop them up. Right, let's actually weigh how much we have. "85, 86 or 86 grams, so let's just say 85 grams of lemon peel, of candied lemon peel. Now let's brown some butter. I've got 150 grams of unsalted butter here, and we're going to do this first because we need to brown it and then cool it down, and yes, I have lost another 2 nails. I wonder how many I'll be left with by the end of this video. Anyway, turn the heat on, heat it to medium, we're going to let it melt first. Now that it's melted completely, we're going to bring it to a simmer until it's golden brown. And I'm going to keep stirring every so often because we don't want it to stick to the bottom, because there are lots of lovely milk solids in here, which are the things that get toasted and give it that lovely nutty flavour. So let's keep stirring. And it is nearly there, you can see it's gone a much more golden colour, so I'm going to give that another 2 minutes I think. Keep stirring it. Ah, perfect. Nice, now it's gone golden brown. I'm going to take this off the heat and I'm going to let this cool down completely and the foam will subside, so don't worry about that. Now that all the preparation's done, we are going to switch our oven on to 180 degrees C because it's time to actually make those cookies. Here I have 150 grams of cream cheese and this is full fat. And this is specifically Philadelphia, by the way, because for some reason all other brands have too much water in, including the supermarket ones. Usually I don't care if it's on brand or off brand, but for cream cheese I always use Philadelphia, it has just the right texture. And I'm going to crack one egg in. Give that a little stir. Doesn't have to be perfect at this point. Adding 200 grams of caster sugar. And remember our 150 grams of browned butter? We're going to add that too. I put it in a glass earlier on to help it cool down a bit faster so I could put it in a water bath. Now I'm going to start gradually adding 300 grams of plain flour, but I'm only going to add half first. So first add half of your 300 grams. More or less, doesn't have to be exact. A pinch of salt. And half a teaspoonful of baking powder. And we're going to give that a good mix too. Alright, now let's add some lemon. Of course, we've got to add all of our chopped candied lemon peel that we spent so long making. And if you thought that was enough lemon, you were wrong, because we're going to add more. Here I have another lemon, and we're going to put all of the zest in. There we go, but keep this, let's chop it in half. And we're going to squeeze that entire lemon into the batter too. I'm doing it over a sieve just in case there are any pips. Don't want seeds in our cookies. And give that a stir too. And finally, we're going to add the rest of our flour. Amazing, and that's exactly the kind of soft texture we want it. So I just paused the video to make the executive decision to take the rest of my nails off because I'll be using my hands a bit for this and I don't want to get any nails in the dough, that would be gross. So let's carry on, shall we? We are going to roll these in some powdered sugar and this is what's going to make the crinkles. And I've got a baking tray here that's been lined with some reusable non-stick baking paper. I'm going to plop those on there, but there isn't enough room, so that is just off camera. So all you need to do is take a spoonful, or maybe a half tablespoonful, of your lovely cookie batter, plop it in, roll it around and give it a generous coating of that, what's it called? Icing sugar. Had a brain fart for a second. And then no need to flatten it, just put it straight on your baking tray like that. I'll show you in a bit. And make sure you leave, a couple of centimetres, maybe a good couple of inches between each cookie because they spread out in the oven. So let's keep doing that. And some people do refrigerate their dough for a few hours to get it a bit firmer. I don't bother. As soon as you put it in the icing sugar, it makes it really easy to handle. So let's continue until all of this has been used up. So these are all ready to bake now. I have 35 in total and I'm going to bake them for 10 to 12 minutes, but I am going to check on them after 8 just in case. Oh, and I do have a lump of icing sugar left in the roll and keep that because we're going to use that for our icing decoration later. It's been 9.5 minutes. The cookies are just starting to brown on the bottom but still kind of pale on top, which is what we want, and we've got those lovely little crinkles on top. Now the hard part, we have to wait for these to cool down completely before we ice them. Now let's make the icing. I added a little bit extra icing to our leftover stuff, so there's about 150 grams in here. And if you will remember, we juiced that lemon yesterday, so we're going to use a bit in the icing. I'm going to add it spoonful by spoonful, because icing sugar goes a bit crazy and it absorbs a lot of liquid very fast, so we don't want it to be too runny. That was what, 2.5 tablespoonfuls of lemon juice? Really fast. You do want it about this consistency, good for drizzling. I'm going to also add a little bit of yellow food colouring, and this is gel, so it's nice and thick, it won't water down our icing too much. And it's very bright, as you will see. Now I'm just going to pop this in a piping bag. You can drizzle it directly over, but I find it's a bit neater to do it with a piping bag. What I like to do is place a bag over a cup so that I have both my hands. Just pour all of the icing in there. Probably not going to use all of it, but better a little bit more than not enough. That'll do. And we're just going to keep this aside like this. And when we're ready, we're just going to snip the very end off. Now for my personal favourite part, drizzling the icing over the cookies. And you can be as messy or as neat as you want. Now I'm just going to let this dry for 5 to 10 minutes, and of course I'm going to do this with the other batches too. And here you have the final result. I am so happy with these. These were absolutely delicious. Just the right texture, dense and soft and gooey and lemony. Cool, just look at how dense and moist they are in the middle. Lovely. I cheated, okay? I already ate some. When I was breaking it apart with the slowmo, that smell of the brown's butter, so nutty and caramelly. So good. And the fragrance of the lemon, it was just too much. Just to prove that it isn't poison. Cheers! Nailed it! I should think so after how many different batches I've been doing. It's just the right balance between cookie and cake, because crinkle cookies are supposed to be like little handheld cakes, but they're not supposed to be like fluffy sponge cakes. They are supposed to be dense and almost cookie-like, but almost cake-like, not one or the other. And these are perfect. Before, when I was making them, I made one that was perfect, and then for some reason I could never do it again, so I had to write down what I was doing differently each time, and I finally cracked it. But yes, make sure you use that full fat cream cheese, because I tried one with the half fat, too watery. I even tried with a different brand, still too watery. So use a good full fat cream cheese like Philadelphia. And you don't have to put the icing on the top. The cookie is sweet enough by itself, but it's not super sweet, so the icing doesn't harm it. It gives it a little extra zing and sweetness, and it makes it really pretty too. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I hope you will join me next Wednesday for my next one. Get the full recipe on my blog tashcakes.com, and follow me on Instagram. I am tashcakes.tastes. Subscribe and hit the notification bell if you'd like to see more. Give this video a like if you'd like to help other people find it. Comment down below if you'd like me to make anything in particular, and I'll see you guys next time. Be good, be nice, and have a good week. It's like they say, when life hands you lemons, make batches and batches of lemon crinkle cookies until you lose the will to function.